Hi Libra, welcome to my channel. This reading is for Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I hope you're doing well, staying safe, and having a wonderful day. Let's see what the cards have to say. You've been sensing something, not loudly, not in a way that announces itself clearly, but in that quiet, persistent, underneath everything way that you've learned to recognize as significant. You know the feeling. It's not quite anticipation, and it's not quite dread. It sits somewhere between those two, in a space that doesn't have a clean name, a space where something inside you knows that the landscape of your life is in the process of changing, even though the surface still looks more or less the same. You've been carrying that feeling for a while now. Waking up with it, moving through your days with it, humming quietly at the back of everything, wondering in the still moments whether what you're sensing is real or whether you're projecting meaning onto ordinary restlessness. It's real. What you're sensing is real. And I want to begin there with that validation, because Libra is a sign that has an extraordinary capacity for self-doubt when it comes to their own inner knowing. You can read a room with almost supernatural accuracy. You can sense the emotional undercurrents in a relationship before a single word has been spoken about them. You can feel the shift in someone's energy toward you before they've consciously registered it themselves. And yet, when it comes to trusting that same perceptive gift in service of your own life, your own choices, your own sense that something is shifting, your own quiet inner voice that says this is changing, pay attention, you hesitate, you wonder if you're being dramatic. You run the feeling through an exhausting internal audit, looking for evidence, looking for logic, looking for permission from the external world to trust what the internal world has already told you. The permission isn't coming from outside. It never was. And part of what is becoming inevitable in your life right now is the collapse of that particular habit, the habit of waiting for the world to confirm what you already know. There is something moving through your life that is unlike what you've navigated before. Not because it's catastrophic, not because it's earth-shattering in some dramatic external sense, but because of what it is asking of you internally. It is asking for a version of you that you haven't fully inhabited yet, a version that holds its ground not from stubbornness or defensiveness, but from a deep and settled clarity about what is true and what matters, and what you are no longer available to compromise on. That version of you has been forming for a long time, through every experience that pushed you to your emotional edges, through every relationship that required more than it returned, through every moment you chose peace over honesty and then lay awake afterward wondering why the peace felt hollow. All of that has been preparation, every single bit of it. The central theme of what's moving through your life right now is reclamation. The reclaiming of something that belongs to you, something you quietly surrendered somewhere along the way, not in a single dramatic moment, but gradually, incrementally, in all the small daily choices that prioritized everyone else's comfort over your own truth. What you're reclaiming is your voice, not your speaking voice. You've always been articulate, always known how to express yourself beautifully when the stakes felt manageable. I mean the deeper voice. The one that knows what you actually need before you've negotiated it down to something more reasonable. The one that says, this isn't right for me even when everything about the situation looks fine on paper. The one that has been quietly waiting with extraordinary patience for you to stop outsourcing your truth to the approval of people who, as much as they love you, will never know your inner life better than you do. That voice is getting louder, not aggressive, not combative, just clearer, more insistent, more willing to be heard, even when hearing it means disrupting something comfortable. And disruption for Libra has always been the real fear underneath everything. Not failure, not loss, exactly. Not even rejection, though all of those sting. The deepest fear is disruption. The fear that if you let your real needs fully surface, if you stop managing the emotional atmosphere so carefully, if you allow a genuine conflict to exist without immediately moving to resolve it, everything will fall apart. The relationships you've tended so carefully, the image of yourself as someone who brings lightness rather than heaviness, the particular kind of love that has been given to you, that has always been conditional, even if subtly, on your continued willingness to be easy, to be gracious, to be the one who adjusts. That fear has been running so much of your life behind the scenes, and what's becoming inevitable now is its dissolution. Not because the things you feared will definitely not happen. Some relationships will shift when you stop accommodating beyond what is genuine. Some people will be uncomfortable when you begin taking up the full space you're actually entitled to. Some carefully maintained dynamics will wobble when you stop doing all the emotional work of keeping them stable. That's real, and I won't soften it. But here is what else is true. Whatever falls away when you stop shrinking was never actually holding. Whatever dissolves when you begin speaking honestly was already hollow at its center. And whatever remains, whoever stays, whoever rises to meet the fuller version of you, that is where your actual life is. That is where the love that is genuinely yours has been waiting to fully arrive. There's a memory I want to invite you to visit. Not a specific one I can name. I mean an emotional memory that lives in many Libras, one that has a particular texture. It's the memory of a moment when you knew what you wanted to say and chose not to say it. When you felt something clearly, accurately, completely, and then watched yourself translate it into something softer, something safer, something that would land without creating waves. And you watched the real feeling go unspoken, and the other person moved on, never knowing what was actually happening inside you. And you smiled, and the conversation continued, and on the outside everything was fine. How many times has that happened? How many true things have gone unspoken inside your relationships, not because you didn't know them, but because the cost of saying them felt higher than the cost of keeping them inside? That cost accumulates. Every unspoken true thing leaves a small residue, and over time, that residue becomes a kind of internal static, a low-level noise that makes it harder to feel genuinely settled in your own life, harder to feel truly known by the people around you, harder to access the peace you work so hard to create, because the peace is always slightly undercut by the awareness of everything that hasn't been said. What's inevitable now is the clearing of that static. Not through dramatic confessions or forced confrontations. Libra doesn't move that way, and there's no need to start now. But through a gradual, determined, increasingly natural practice of saying the true thing first, of letting the real feeling exist in the room before you've edited it into something presentable, of trusting that the people who genuinely belong in your life can handle the actual you, not just the gracious performance of you. This is going to feel unfamiliar at first. It may even feel wrong, like you're being unkind, like you're being selfish, like you're breaking some unspoken agreement about who you're supposed to be in relation to others. Those feelings are the residue of old conditioning, not accurate readings of reality. Being honest is not being unkind. Knowing what you need is not being selfish. Taking up the full emotional space that is rightfully yours is not a violation of anyone else's dignity. It is simply the natural expression of a self that has finally stopped apologizing for existing at full volume. And when you stop apologizing for your full existence, something extraordinary happens in the energy around you. The people who were drawn to the managed, accommodating version of you, the version that never asked for too much and never made things too complicated, those people may step back. And the people who have been waiting for the real you to show up, who have always sensed there was more beneath the graciousness and been quietly longing for access to it, those people will step forward. The quality of your connections will transform, not necessarily the quantity, but the quality. And you will discover that one relationship of genuine mutual depth nourishes you more than 10 relationships where you are appreciated but not truly known. You have been starving for genuine knowing. That is the hunger underneath everything. Not for more love in the general sense you are someone who loves and is loved and always has been, but for a specific kind of love that sees past the beautiful presentation into the interior, that knows about the self-doubt you carry so quietly, that knows about the exhaustion beneath the ease, that knows about the longing that you've learned to make so small and so private that most people in your life have no idea it even exists. That kind of knowing, that real, substantive, I see who you actually are love, is what reclamation ultimately leads to. It is what becomes possible when you stop curating yourself for consumption and start simply being yourself for connection. The spiritual dimension of what's moving through your life right now is significant. I want to speak to it directly. There is an energetic correction happening, not a punishment, not a consequence in any harsh or karmic sense, but a gentle and firm reorientation by your own deeper nature toward authenticity. The universe, your higher self, the part of you that operates beneath the level of personality and strategy, or call it what resonates, has reached a threshold of patience with the self-diminishment, with the smallness, with the constant positioning of everyone else's emotional needs ahead of your own fundamental truth. That part of you is done waiting. It is beginning to create pressure. You may feel this as restlessness, as sudden dissatisfaction with things that used to feel acceptable, as an unexpected emotional response to situations that normally wouldn't affect you, as a kind of grief or longing that surfaces without a specific trigger. All of that is the pressure of your own authentic self pushing upward. All of that is the voice that has been waiting, finally refusing to wait any longer. Work with it. Don't manage it back into silence. Don't smooth it over with productivity or social activity or the comforting ritual of tending to everyone else while neglecting the thing inside you that is trying to move. This pressure is not a problem to solve. It is an invitation. The most important invitation you've received in a long time. There's a specific quality in Libra that I find genuinely moving, and I want to name it because it's relevant to what's coming. It's the quality of your hope. Libra hopes in a way that is remarkably durable. You've been disappointed, genuinely, significantly disappointed by people and situations and outcomes that mattered deeply to you. And yet you continue to believe in the possibility of something real. You continue to orient toward beauty, toward connection, toward the idea that genuine love and genuine understanding between people is possible and worth pursuing. That hope, after everything, is not naivete. It is a form of spiritual intelligence. It is your soul's accurate read on what exists in the world, held steady against the evidence of experiences that might have extinguished it in someone less inherently oriented toward light. That hope is about to be rewarded in a specific way, not abstractly, not eventually, not as some distant future promise, but in the texture of your daily life, in the quality of what begins arriving as you move through this reclamation. The hope you have maintained is a signal, and what's moving towards you is in resonance with it. It was drawn by it. It has been navigating toward the particular frequency of your genuine, durable, quietly extraordinary hope for as long as you've been sending it out. Be open to being surprised by the form it takes, because here is something Libra sometimes gets tripped up on. You have a very refined aesthetic, not just visually, but emotionally. You have a sense of how things should feel, how connection should unfold, how love should arrive. And sometimes that refined sense becomes a filter that almost screens out something genuine because it didn't arrive in the expected form with the expected texture in the expected moment. What's coming towards you may not arrive looking the way you imagined. It may be quieter than you pictured, or more direct, or presented differently than the version your imagination has been rehearsing. Let it be what it actually is. Meet it in its actual form rather than comparing it to the ideal. Because what's real and what's meant for you is always more interesting than what was imagined. There's a stillness being asked of you right now. In the midst of all this movement, all this internal shifting and external realigning, there is a specific kind of stillness that is required, not the stillness of passivity, not the stillness of waiting for things to happen to you, the stillness of presence, the stillness of being so fully in your own body, your own moment, your own actual experience that you stop projecting yourself into every possible future and stop reprocessing every significant past and simply exist right now in the extraordinary specificity of who you are today. You are not the same person who made the choices you sometimes regret. You are not the same person who stayed too long in things that drained you, who gave more than was returned, who made yourself smaller to preserve a harmony that wasn't actually serving your growth. You have changed, quietly, significantly, in ways you haven't fully acknowledged yet, and the life that is becoming inevitable is not being built for who you were. It is being built for who you are now, and who you are still in the process of becoming. There is real beauty in this passage, even when it's uncomfortable, even when the dissolution of old patterns creates a temporary disorientation, even when the people and situations that are moving out of alignment with who you're becoming leave gaps that feel at first more like loss than like freedom. The beauty is in the accuracy of it, in the feeling which will arrive, I promise, even if it isn't fully here yet, of finally living in a life that actually fits, of finally being in relationships and situations and daily experiences that are genuinely matched to the depth and complexity and extraordinary loving capacity of who you really are. You have lived for too long in spaces that were slightly too small for you. Spaces where you folded your edges in, where you modulated your depth to avoid overwhelming people who weren't capable of meeting you there. Where you made yourself more manageable and more palatable and more easy because easy felt like the price of being loved. What's becoming inevitable is the arrival of spaces that are large enough, relationships that can hold your full self without flinching, A daily life that has room for your questions, your sensitivity, your longing, your nuance, your quiet complexity. A version of existing in the world that doesn't require constant self-editing just to remain acceptable. That is what is coming. That is what is inevitable. And it has already begun inside you, in the quiet decision to stop diminishing. In the small daily practice of choosing honesty over performance, depth over ease, truth over the comfortable maintenance of a peace that costs too much. Each time you make that choice, even in small ways, even imperfectly, you strengthen the signal. You make yourself more available to what is genuinely aligned. You accelerate the arrival of what has already begun moving towards you. You are not waiting for something to save you. You are the active participant in your own reclamation. The universe is not going to descend and rearrange your life while you remain passive. It is going to support every genuine, courageous, truthful step you take in the direction of your own authentic life. It is going to meet your honesty with resonance. It is going to meet your boundaries with relief. It is going to meet your willingness to be fully seen with exactly the kind of seeing you have always longed for. There is a version of your life not far away, not locked behind impossible conditions, where you feel genuinely at home, where the people around you, actually know you, and love what they know. Where you move through your days without the low-level vigilance of someone who is always monitoring the emotional atmosphere for signs that adjustment is needed. Where your sensitivity is not a burden you manage, but a gift you inhabit freely. Where your need for beauty and depth and genuine connection is not a high-maintenance complication, but simply the natural shape of a life that was designed for someone extraordinary. That version is not a fantasy. It is the inevitable destination of someone who has done what you have done, who has loved as genuinely as you have loved, who has grown through exactly the kinds of experiences you have grown through, who has reached the threshold of self-knowledge that you are standing at right now. You have arrived at something. I want you to let that land. Not as a promise about the future, but as a recognition of the present. You have arrived at a genuine threshold, and the you that stands here today, with everything you've been through and everything you've learned and everything you've quietly endured and all the ways you've grown that you haven't even fully taken inventory of yet, that you is ready. More ready than you know, more prepared than you feel, more deserving than you typically allow yourself to believe. The inevitability isn't something happening to you, it is something moving through you. It is your own life, your own truth, your own long-developing authentic self finally arriving in full and beginning to reshape everything around it in its image. Let it. That's all. Just let it.